Money isn't taught in schools, but it's tested every single day of your life. We grow up thinking that being good with money is about math spreadsheets, interest rates, and complex formulas. But if you've ever wondered why so many smart people end up broke, or why two people with the exact same income can have completely different financial futures, you're about to get the answer. And it has nothing to do with IQ. Today, we're diving into Morgan Housel's masterpiece, The Psychology of Money. This isn't a book about what to do with your money. It's a book about what happens in your head when you try to manage it. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll realize that the biggest gap in your financial life isn't between you and a six-figure salary. It's between who you are in the mirror and the person you need to become. Housel starts with a radical idea. Your personal experiences with money make up maybe 1% of what's happened in the world, but they shape 80% of how you think the world works. Think about that. If you grew up during a stock market boom, you're a risk taker. If you grew up during a recession, you probably see the market as a trap. We're all just walking around looking at the same economy, but through completely different lenses. And that's why a billionaire and a minimum wage worker can both feel financially insecure, because money is never just about the numbers. It's about the memories, the ego, and the fear we attach to it. The single most powerful takeaway from this book is a simple phrase. No one is crazy. We all make irrational decisions with money based on our own unique worldviews. Once you understand that, you stop judging others and, more importantly, you start understanding yourself. But here's where it gets really interesting. Housel argues that doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. And the hardest skill to master? It's not picking winning stocks. It's just sitting still. The greatest investors in the world aren't geniuses. They're people who have the temperament to let their investments compound over decades without freaking out and selling everything during a crash. He introduces the concept of room for error. The idea that the most important part of any financial plan is planning on your plan not going according to plan. You need margin for error. Because in a world full of surprises, the only way to win is to make sure you can survive the losses long enough to let your wins compound. Then there's the chapter that will change your relationship with your paycheck. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Getting rich requires taking risks and being optimistic. But staying rich requires pure, unadulterated paranoia. The moment you think you've made it and let your guard down, the world finds a way to take it all back. Housel gives the haunting example of Jesse Livermore, one of the greatest traders in history, who made millions, lost it all, made it back, and eventually took his own life. Because he mastered the game of getting rich, but he never mastered the game of staying rich. And that's a lesson for all of us. Saving money isn't about being cheap. It's about building a buffer between you and the chaos of life. So, what's the ultimate goal here? Housel sums it up in a way that cuts through all the noise. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. It's not about the mansions or the sports cars. Those are just signals to other people. True wealth is the money you don't see. It's the savings in the bank that gives you control over your time. Because when you control your time, you control your happiness. And that brings us to the final brutal truth from this book. If you respect the crazy ways humans behave with money, if you focus on the long game, and if you define enough before greed takes over, you win. But if you think money is just a game of numbers, you'll spend your whole life chasing something that will always be one step ahead. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you look at your bank account, don't just see numbers. See the fears you're holding on to from your past. See the future you're trying to build. And ask yourself, am I playing a game of math or a game of psychology? Because the moment you realize that your biggest asset isn't your portfolio, it's your mind, that's the moment you actually start getting rich. If this video gave you a new way to think about money, hit that like button and subscribe. Because the greatest investment you can make is in an asset that pays dividends forever. And that asset is your own education. Thanks for watching, and remember, the market will always fluctuate, but your discipline doesn't have to.